My name is Shira and I'm from Israel.
From Israel?
Yeah.
That's a long way to come.
Not that long, only 5 hours.
So why did you come to the conference?
Actually, I was not aware that there is any organization like that at all. There is nothing like this in Israel, and I just got a phone call from my doctor saying that there is an organization called Guch in the UK, and they're organizing a conference, and if I want to go, and I said, yeah, why not?
I have a bypass, as well as my explanation might not be perfect, but the muscle is weak in some parts, so that I had to go and patch it. That's my best understanding of it.
So does that mean that you've had to have surgery?
Yes, I've had 7 open heart surgeries, and the last one was in '96. So I've been cut up many times.
How old are you now?
I'm 18, still young.
The term GUJ, what does the abbreviation mean? It means grown up congenital heart patients. And I think a lot of it stems, I know that there is some discomfort with the term because we're adults, not grown-ups, but it's it's catchy and the abbreviations have caught on.
I mean, the European conference is very much about meeting people from other countries and finding out what happens in their countries. Provision of health services, what happens around benefits issues, problems they have with insurance, employment, etc. Everywhere is different, and out of shared experiences, hopefully we can find that there is some good practice somewhere in Europe that we can build on in our own country, that other organisations can also work towards in their countries.
Money and sex are pleasures of life.
I like it one.
When I was growing up, I didn't know any other people with heart problems. And so to all of a sudden be able to share all these experiences with other people, even though they might be painful experiences, I'm just able to get out a lot of pain or a lot of doubts or things like that I feel that I can't really share with people who don't have the same kind of problem I do.
My condition is that I am one of the few who has not been operated, and my condition is slowly going backwards, but that's only in terms of years and not in weeks or days or months. It's just that I recognize that the fact that in years my condition fades away.
Well, let me point out that it's not an illness. You're right, it doesn't show on the outside most of the time. So people, you have to explain all the time what is your defect. And I like always to be one step ahead of people and say, well, this is how my body functions in difference to your healthy body.
It's very difficult to educate people about an area as diverse as congenital heart defects. You range from people who are fitter than I am down to people who are really quite ill. And the general statement, I have a heart condition, immediately puts in people's mind the picture of someone who's 60, smokes 40 a day and eats large amounts of doner kebab. Not someone who's young, fairly fit and has had surgery but is probably doing fine day to day.
My perspective, I don't know, maybe I will be in this health for the next 10, 20 years, and maybe I will be in a wheelchair in a half year, in 2 months, I don't know. There is no perspective to what I have. No doctor can, when I was born, I wouldn't be 3 days old. I would never walk stairs. I wouldn't be 7 years old. I would never go to school. And all these things I've done. I'm 34 years old now, and everybody said, well, we're not going to tell you anything anymore, because there is just no way of knowing what might happen.
I was born with transposition of the total chambers. So my right heart chamber developed on the left side and the other way around. Both my heart valves were leaking, so they replaced them. On the left side I have artificial valve. On the right side I have a donor, a human valve. And I have a pacemaker for 23 years now.
So how old were you when you got the pacemaker?
The first one I got when I was 13, and I'm now 36. So
That's pretty young to have a pacemaker.
in those days, yes. In these times, it's not, because now already little children and children from 3 years, 4 years old get pacemakers.
You know, heart surgery has been improving these lives since the 50s. So you've got 50 years of progress, if you like. And there are Gooches who've not had surgery, who have just managed to survive with very serious disease. There are Gooches who have quite mild disease. So there are all sorts of Gooches, but the ones we're particularly concerned about in the care in this country and in Europe are those that have important, serious, complex problems, 75% of whom have had quite important surgery, and they make up about 20% of the whole group who really need the specialist care. That's the group we're worried about.
Don't feel bad or sad for us. Try to understand us, and maybe if you are part of my little part of the world, try to get some knowledge and understanding. Try to learn something about heart condition. Get rid of your own ignorance.
What kind of ignorance is out there?
Well, I think we're all very sick people. It's not a sickness, it's a defect. And it makes your life different, but not worse. That's the general idea I have about it.
If we let society tell you what your disabilities are and that you are disabled and this is the pigeonhole you fit into, then you're always going to be discriminated against and you're always going to encounter those kind of equality problems. But I think if you manage to get yourself round to thinking that, well, at the end of the day, is everyone in the world not in some way disabled? We all have things that we can do and we all have things that we can't do. It's how we meet those needs, and it's how we face those challenges in our lives to make our lives as fulfilling as we want them to be, and not as other people say they should be.
I don't see it as a disability. It is a disability technically, but I do not live with it as a disability.
There's a stigma attached to any disability. I think we had a gentleman talking yesterday about disability and how people see it or view it. And the people in wheelchairs have the physical thing to say they are disabled. We have a slightly harder time because we don't have anything visible that people can see. And we have to fight that. It's all dependent on whether we want to actually tell people or not.
Because we're a fairly young group of patients, in that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there probably wouldn't have been many people our age around. Insurance companies like risk, and they like making gambling essentially, but the data they've got on us is old, so we look a worse risk than we are, and therefore our life insurance is more expensive. But the education is beginning through Gooch in the UK and through other organisations throughout Europe, and are actually beginning to realise that we're probably as good a risk as anyone else.
How important is it for you to have the same opportunities that everybody else has in life?
I think they're very very high, but making opportunities is something you also have to make for yourself. You have to go out and search for your own luck, and sometimes you have to struggle, and sometimes you have to struggle very, very long, but at the end you will make it. I get this saying from Friedrich Nietzsche, who said that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that's something I believe in very strong.
I think when people meet me, first of all, they don't realise I've got a heart condition until they see the scar at some point. But then, yeah, they sort of, oh my God, you've got a heart condition. And I also find when I'm applying for jobs, I feel very wary about having to put it down, because I feel that the employer's going to think, oh, she's not going to be up to the stress of the hours, or she's going to be off sick. And that's not really the case in my situation. I think because I feel that I'm as capable as anyone else, I don't want my heart condition to get in the way, because it shouldn't be stopping me. And I feel that people or employers or other people judge it because they hear the word heart, not really on who I am. You know, you become a person with a heart condition, not a whole person.
I work as a journalist, so I worked in women's magazines, and I worked on Cosmopolitan magazine as its managing editor. And that was fine until I started to get ill. And after a couple of bouts of illness, I thought it would be sensible to work on a smaller magazine. So I moved. In fact, it was a disastrous decision. It was very, very stressful. There's a lot of unhappiness on the magazine. And I spent every month I was in hospital just for a few days. And after a year, when they got rid of the editor, it was a perfect time to get rid of other people. And although they sacked a lot of people, they actually made me redundant. And I suspect that's because if they didn't do that, they were concerned I would take them to an industrial tribunal because I had been ill so much, and it was a way of getting rid of me so they didn't have to pay anymore.
Without getting too libelous, do you feel that had a direct connection?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Why?
Because it's very difficult if you work in a stressful environment and you're ill, then obviously other people take over your role while you're not there, and then you're trying to come back into it, you know, say after a week in hospital, and then you have to fight to get your job back. And then you just do that, and then 3 weeks later you're back in hospital. So I think it's very stressful for people around you. And the management, I think, saw that as something I was continually going to be ill and continually causing a problem for their company.